You're listening to Reignite, a podcast about walking the line between ethics and doing what needs to be done. I'm MJ.
And I'm Matt, aka Stormageddon.
And returning for this episode is Nelson Lugo.
Hey, folks. How are you? You
the
forgot
bad
to say...
boy of Mass Effect.
Oh, Jesus, really? Oh, fuck. I was hoping to be introduced as, you know, the internet darling Nelson Lugo. But
I mean, you are.
I'm sorry. I can do that again. Would you like me to do that again?
No. You've ruined it. That's it. I'm done. I'm now the bad boy, apparently.
You're the bad boy of our podcast, at least.
Oh, well, fuck. That's horrible.
He's at least the guest who curses the most.
Which qualifies.
Oh, well, you got to earn that adult rating somehow.
I think so. So before we jump into the thick of things and get some updates on your choices from last season, why don't you let folks on the internet what you've been up to these days? I know we're living in a pandemic state, so magic must be not quite the same.
Yeah, I guess, no, it's living in pandemic times is a very strange time to live in. But luckily, I've been very fortunate that there have been enough, online Zoom live stream shows that I've been invited to. So it isn't all that different, except, instead of me dressing up to go to a place I don't want to go to, except for the fact that they're paying me to be there, I dress up and I stay in my living room and I do the thing. So basically what the pandemic has done is taken out the thing I hate, which is leaving my apartment, and has allowed me to stay home and earn money as a magician. So, it all works out.
So what I'm hearing is you're thriving.
Well, I don't know if I'm thriving, but I'm certainly not. I'm not suffering, I guess, is really the more accurate term. I'm a bit of a homebody and a recluse, and I hate going outside. And I can count the amount of people I want to talk to on a daily basis on one hand. So,
is your dog one of them?
I don't talk to my dog. We're not on speaking terms right now.
Oh no!
No. She's being a bit of an asshole right now, so she's in timeout. She's in puppy timeout.
Tell her that I love her.
Oh my God, take a number. Everybody fucking loves my dog. Jeepers.
She's cute as fuck.
She is cute as fuck, which is both the good news and the bad news.
As of this recording, the most recent episode of the Epic Podcast, a podcast that you do with the incredible Shape of the Dark Lord, he was showering praise on your dog, and you were like, no, fuck that.
My dog is a pandemic dog, which means she's had zero socialization during her formative puppy time, and is just now getting the socialization. So she's a little late to the party, and so she's a bit. My wife would say she's full of pep and character. I would say that she's a rambunctious pain in the ass.
Vim and vigor.
Vim and vigor, yeah. But yeah, certainly the puppy has made life interesting during pandemic time. So yeah, I'm doing okay, as okay as anyone can be during pandemic times.
Last time we had you on the show, we were solely talking about Mass Effect 1 decisions. Now that we're in Mass Effect 3, we can talk a little bit about Mass Effect 2 decisions. The main ones that we want to know.
Uh-huh.
Did you kill or rewrite the Geth?
I eventually rewrote the Geth.
Yeah?
It took me 2 playthroughs to get the perfect outcome that I wanted. But yeah, I rewrote the Geth.
Okay. What did you do with the collector base? Did you destroy it, or did you give it to the elusive man?
Oh, I blew that shit up.
Yes.
Fuck that guy. Fuck that guy. Fuck the collector base. I blew it up in a blaze of glory.
And your romance for Mass Effect 2?
Liara.
Okay, you stayed faithful and rekindled in Shadow Broker.
So fucking absolutely. In fact, during my first playthrough, before that DLC dropped, I didn't romance anybody.
Okay. Now that we are caught up, let me give you guys that summary. Aria needs Shepard's help to secure her leadership on the Citadel, and then to oust General Petrovsky, the Cerberus operative who took over all of Omega. After a series of fetch quests, Shepard at least gets a small army of mercenaries to use in their war. But what about taking back Omega? Aria has a plan, but it means leaving the Normandy behind. Once on Omega, Shepard must either temper or encourage Aria's anger while helping her get back to what she lost. Along the way, we meet Nyreen, a Turian biotic who had a turbulent history with Aria. Nyreen turns out to be the leader of the only merc group in town, the Talons, who are leading a resistance against Cerberus. Aria and Nyreen help Shepard fight through Cerberus soldiers, mechs, and Reaper tech creatures called Adjutant. When it comes down to the final confrontation, will Aria kill Petrovsky, or will she spare him?
Dun, dun, dun.
Dun dun dun.
Very good questions to ask when it comes to Aria.
Hire me to write your description.
Yeah. She's a ruthless badass.
She is someone who is not known for her kindness. So
Justifiably so. I mean, she leads a people. Like, she's a leader, and sometimes you have to be that way.
Yeah, she's basically a dictator of a small nation.
Yeah, whether or not we approve of her methods remains to be seen, but let's try and speed through these check-ins because we have a lot of content to cover. We were a little ambitious. The first thing that you have to do is check in with Hackett. How did that conversation go for you, Matt?
I mean, it's the usual nonsense with Hackett. He is kind of cold and distant. He wants you to get shit done and doesn't really care.
Is this the check-in after you've enrolled the basically secured the mercs for Aria?
This is right after Palavin.
Got it.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing of interest he has to say is, the time for unity is now. And then that's it. And apparently we can check in with him whenever we want.
Yeah, and just have a casual chat with our buddy.
Just check in and be like, hey, what's up? I know we talked 5 minutes ago.
I mean, I do like him as a character. He's one of the more interesting characters within the Alliance Army.
I like Hackett.
I'd like him more if it didn't feel like every time you talk to him was him sending you to do his dirty work, whether you are actively a member of the Alliance or not. But like, even when you weren't part of the Alliance, when you were working for Cerberus, he would just show up and be like, hey, I have an unsanctioned mission that I need you to go take care of for me by yourself, because that's not dangerous or sketchy at all.
I mean, you're not wrong.
Just say, I like you better if you didn't constantly send me to my death.
Look, you know what? It's wartime. Tough decisions need to be made. Hackett's the man to make them.
Primarch Victus is also hanging out on the Normandy. I forgot to write that into our outline. I think that it's cool that he's there because it makes this feel more realistic. I mean, they could easily just be like, oh yeah, we dropped him off somewhere. Like sometimes they do. They do this kind of time jump. But no, he's on the ship with you until you collect everyone you need for this summit. And you can check in with him. You can ask him how the war effort is going and how Palavin is doing. And I think it adds something to the experience. You can also ask him about Garrus, and he says, he said something about calibrations. I didn't ask.
Just like, of course he did. Thanks. Helpful.
Yeah, that's a thing that's I think that Mass Effect 3 gets right. You have opportunities to talk to key players in that sort of strategy room at different points, and the sort of wink and nod callbacks to all of the inside jokes that have been going on for the past 2 games. That's one of my favorite parts of Mass Effect 3 as a whole.
It reminds me of why Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince is my favorite of the movies. It's because they were finally unafraid to be funny with a children's book.
Yeah.
Like, it's a children's book. It's dark, but it's a children's book. You can be funny. You can be silly with it. And with Mass Effect 3, they were like, we've been in this world for a very long time. People who have known each other this long might not be so serious with each other all the time. We can be a little funny with it.
And you know that they have nothing to prove at this point.
Yeah.
So it's they have a fan base that will allow them to poke fun at the characters.
Definitely.
And I like it.
And then, before we can get very far, we find out that something is going wrong with Edie.
Yeah, we get some light flickering. We get some disorientation amongst the crew.
She goes offline. There's a fire.
I think Edie is probably one of the best entrances of a video game character ever created.
Yeah, it's badass. I think this is really cool. The fact that she was trying to assess how to use this body and was like, hey, I could use it for me. I could have a body and like go places and do things and be more part of the team. Good for you, girl. I'm so proud of you.
I champion your autonomy, girl.
He's so funny.
I think like just you walk into what you think is a dangerous situation, right? There's a fire, and then all you see is smoke, and then the sprinklers go on, and what emerges from this smoke is this shiny, sexy robot, and then starts speaking with Edie's voice, and it's just one of those moments of like, hot damn, yes, more of this, please.
There was a renegade option where you could say nice going. And I was like, I don't want to say that if that's going to come out sarcastic because no, I genuinely mean it. Nice going. Good job. I'm very happy. So I had to like look it up to make sure. And she has perfect eyeliner. What is up with that though?
It's funny how much you can see the male gaze in Edie's design, which I don't know how I feel about that. I mean, she looks awesome, but it's very apparent that there's some male gaziness to her almost naked looking robo body.
Yeah, I mean, she even says like Joker will also want to see it about her new body, and I'm just like, oh no.
Yeah, I think Shepard has a response of like, yeah, I bet he will.
Yeah. And when you talk to Chakwas about it, she even says like Joker's going to have a field day.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
I think Edie, and in a conversation that happens after this, says something along the lines of like, my eyes are up here, Shepard, or something.
I mean, it's possible it only happens with male Shepard. I don't know.
I wonder if that's a renegade thing. That's wrong.
I have no idea.
Shouldn't only happen with male Shepard, but whatever.
I mean, I agree, but
I do remember Edie saying to Joker, I am sitting right here, Jeff, because he's talking about how hot she is directly in front of her. And she's just like, what are you doing? You goblin.
Oh, Joker.
He's such a goblin. I popped in on Liara to see if she had anything to say, and she didn't, but she was having a conversation with Garrus. Like, she invited him over to her room so they can sit and talk and, like, let him decompress. And I really appreciate that they're friends. And, like, there's no bitterness. We can just...
What do you mean?
Well, because my Shepard and Liara had a relationship, and I broke up with her. To be fair, I broke up with her in 2.
Right. I forget. Yes.
I think it's great that Mass Effect 3 allows these kind of non-Shepard conversations to happen. Like we were saying in previous episode, it allows this world to feel fuller because the characters are talking to each other, not just Shepard.
That's one of my favorite things, is that these characters exist outside of you. They have their own lives. They have their own desires. They have their own relationships.
This version of that universe feels more well-rounded to me and a little less,
I agree,
cartoony in ways. And I absolutely appreciated, I don't know, maybe we'll get into this later, but like this, Mass Effect 3 feels like a victory lap for the developers, and rightfully so. And it's those small details of relationships and characters that I really appreciate.
I was oddly anxious to go see Garrus. It was just like, oh man, what's gonna happen? I know what's gonna happen, but what's gonna happen? I walked in on Victus giving him a report, and Garrus saying nice things about me. If anyone can get the Krogan to cooperate, it's her. And I'm just like, oh.
Well, because he's your boyfriend.
Matt, do you want to talk about your version of this conversation first, and then I'll talk about the romance portion?
Sure. This is very buddy. Garrus is Male Shep's best friend in the universe, and they kind of always react that way. And what's interesting about my conversation with him, and I'm sure part of this is in your chat too, is that he, like, you talk to him and like he's glad to be with you and like you crack some jokes, but then he gets really serious about Palaven and having to leave, and you say a similar thing about Earth, that it was hard for you. The Paragon response, say it was hard to leave Earth as well, and kind of commiserate with him and thank him for being there. This is Garrus, besides Tali and Liara, is one of the longest with you crew members, also besides the Vermeer survivor, but they're not on the ship right now. And so I think you have this history with Garrus that really comes out of this conversation, even if there's no romance, which I really, really love. I love that is part of this, that they show dudes being dudes, but like they're not afraid to let them get emotional. This these games have had a great emotional arc, and you see it very strongly in this conversation with Garrus.
Yeah. I would also, I mean, Tally hasn't joined the crew yet, but it feels that way with her as well. Even if you don't, even if there's no romance there, there's history and a mutual respect and affection that comes across very clearly in the conversation choices.
Much of the conversation is similar, but we get into the romance first, where what I appreciate a lot about Garrus is that when you come face to face, he asks you what your comfort level is. He says, what do we do here? Like, what is comfortable for you? If you want to still, like, just be friends, totally fine. I respect that. I get it. If you want to keep doing whatever this is, then that's great too. And I'd like that. And I just appreciate it because I feel like some of the other "are we still dating" conversations have a lot of like pressure involved. Like when Liara asked me if I still had feelings for her, like I felt like I was actually going to be hurting her feelings like very badly, which I kind of did, but didn't. She took it like a champ. But I feel like there was a lot more understanding of boundaries in Garrus's like option to rekindle, so to speak. And he's so awkward and so wonderful. I love him so much. He's been doing research on human customs. The vids mentioned it might go this way. It's going to take more than Reapers to come between this cross-species liaison. It's so dumb. I love him. Also, we get into his title as being the Reaper expert of the Turians, which he really gets a lot further with Turian government than Shepard ever did with human government, mainly because he got his father on his side, which I'm really proud of him for doing. He and his father were not getting along in previous games.
Yeah, I appreciate that with Garrus here, that he mirrors something you're struggling through, like that the squeaky wheel gets the oil. The fact that the flailing and the screaming and being loud got the attention that they needed, and it didn't matter anyway. It didn't do anything.
Okay, it didn't do anything as far as the council. It didn't do anything as far as like actual fighting against the Reapers, but it did do a lot to secure civilians. Like one of the things that he was focused on doing was putting away emergency supplies, and he was trying to get the awareness level up. And because he actually had this task force and he had this role, it was more present than it had been.
That's true. Yeah.
I just feel like that's better than Shepard ever got. He got to do so much with this task force.
Absolutely. I mean, it may have been a token task force, but what Garrus seemed to be able to do with it ended up saving a whole lot of lives.
Also, closing out my conversation with him, he he let me know that now that he was like an official like member of the hierarchy with his Reaper expert role, he could now afford the good stuff. So fancy wine for our next date.
Nothing like some drinking.
It's very cute. I didn't include this in my list, but I want to talk about it anyway real quick because I walked in on Trainer on comms talking to Allers being a useless lesbian. I love her immensely.
Wait, what? I don't remember this.
So this is what happens. You walk in to check on Allers, and Trainer is talking to her and asking her about if she has to be made up and like if she has to wear so much makeup. And Trainer's like, "You're very well made up." And like, if you're a woman-loving woman, you know how hard it is to compliment other women and like let them know, like have this conversation in subtext of, "Are you?" "Yes, bitch, I'm gay."
Man, I mean, they still need, this is a far-flung future where there's biotic powers and they still haven't figured that out yet.
And still useless lesbians. Like, Trainer is the most useless lesbian, and I love her. I love her so much. But I wanted to talk about it mainly because Allers replies with this commentary about how pretty tests better and girly is good. And like being feminine on camera means better ratings and more viewers. which I hate. Can we just throw out that entire narrative? Can we just get rid of it? It's just such bullshit. Like, why can't it just be, I like makeup, it makes me happy? Why not?
There's no reason why I shouldn't. I guess for the character trainer, that means something.
Oh, this was Allers talking.
Sorry, I mean Allers.
And Allers is portrayed by Jessica Chobot, and Jessica Chobot likes to wear makeup. You know, it's something that she enjoys doing. And I really wish that carried over into, I'm making an assumption here. I think that she likes to wear makeup because I feel like I've seen her wear makeup regularly, but it could be that she has to wear it for being on screen. That's a possibility. So I should not make that assumption.
Yeah, she's also the reporter, right? So like her point of view is going to come from like that entertainment world, right?
Right. What I'm saying is I wish that wasn't the case.
Right.
I wish that was no longer the world in which our characters lived, that they don't have to worry about their appearance to that level. And her answer could have been just like, I like makeup. It could have just been that, and that would have been fine. It doesn't have to be a feminist commentary.
I know, but there it is.
That's all I wanted to talk about. Let's jump over to Steve.
Poor Steve.
Poor Steve.
I really love him as a new character. I mean, again, we've talked him for gay romance for male shepherd that only swings one way. But that said, like he could have just been a cliche gay character. The fact that he's not, the fact that he has a story, that he has hopes and dreams, the fact that he's a character beyond just someone for you to love, whether you choose to love him or not, is really great. But we do walk up on him, toying with the shuttle, and of course, still lamenting about his lost love.
This man needs a day off.
Yeah, and Shepard recognizes that.
Heck yeah.
Like, he's trying so hard to stay busy because that's one of the ways that you combat grief. Hello, me. But like, he's gonna burn himself out. And he says something to the effect of, I wouldn't take a chance with your life. Okay, man, but what about your life?
What I really appreciate, particularly about Steve, because he has a fully realized narrative and backstory from Shepard, and he's not even a party member. You know what I mean? Like, they could have just given him a shuttle pilot and made him basically like a foil to Joker, but they didn't. They decided to go hard on his character, and again, it's just one of those like those little details of Mass Effect 3 that, when was this? Like 2012 this came out? When was this? 2011? It still resonates, and I just really, it's those moments that I really enjoyed the most from this game overall.
I think Steve is great. I pushed him to rest as a favor to me because I cannot see him doing this to himself.
I did the same thing, and good memory, Nelson. It was March of 2012 that this game came out, which I didn't actually remember. Seems so long ago. But yeah, I did the same. I chose the Paragon option to like make him take some time, which I mean, it is pretty in line with my character as a person. Like back when we had friends we could hang out with in person, which is a thing of the past at this point. But when we could do that, I would often have conversations like that with my friends. Nelson, you saw it a lot too. Your friends trying to gig and do everything, and like seeing them burning themselves out and making themselves miserable. And I was the type of person who would always try and like meet them somewhere and be like, hey, how can I help? How can I help you not kill yourself doing this thing?
Jumping up to Trainer, who was 1000% on Edie's side, and if Edie had said something to her, would have been there with her, helping her get into that body. For completely selfless reasons, I'm sure.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
And not because hot robot lady.
I think it's 100% hot robot lady, but then, but then, but the Trainer's also like one of the good ones, like she's all in. She drank the Shepherd Kool-Aid, and there's no going back for her.
As we were talking about Steve and saying that he is a completely realized person and not just like a foil to Joker or just like a random character who we don't interact with that much. Trainer is much like him. She's not Kelly 2.0. She is a completely different person. She has her own interests and her own background, and she is there to be the lesbian option, but like she's really cool and great.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I think she's both funny and smart in that way that portrays strength and ability. Because she could very much just be a cliche character, and she's not. She brings a lot more to this overall story and all of the relationships that Shepard has. It makes it more interesting and more dynamic, I think.
Right. And like she tries to play down her accomplishments and she's just like, oh, anyone could have done that, man. It was chance, it was lucky, man. I'm just like, shut up. You're great. We celebrate her accomplishments here.
Like, take the compliment, damn it.
She's great and I love her. Speaking of Joker and his new sexy robot friend, he's just staring at her. Just fucking staring at her.
He's just so happy.
And
yeah,
you're
Joker the man-child.
One of your options was to say, like, pull yourself together. But after I took that option, it wasn't what I wanted it to be. I wanted that to come out as, would you stop being disgusting? Would you stop being gross? She is technically your coworker and you are harassing her right now. So I had to go back and retake that because that's not what I wanted to say. He's just so gross about the whole thing.
He is. It's a common problem with the Mass Effect games that you don't get to like really know what you're going to say.
Yeah. The summary version of what you're going to say doesn't match the real version all the time, which is very frustrating.
Well, I mean, in sort of like pseudo defense of the developers, at least Joker's consistent.
He is consistent.
It's not like you had a character who was like upstanding, moral, and then all of a sudden turned into a jerk. Joker's been a jerk the entire fucking time. So at least there's that one guy you just kind of roll your eyes at, and it's like, this guy again. What the fuck is he gonna say now?
Edie's sitting there so fucking uncomfortable, so clearly uncomfortable. Man, you gotta stop. I did appreciate what he said about my boyfriend. I know I used to rag on Garrus for being all angry, but I'm glad he's back. Plus, we might need something to calibrate.
I do appreciate that's become a running gag in Mass Effect is the calibrations.
Yes.
Always be calibrating.
Exactly. A, B, C.
And now we can talk to Edie, which is really interesting. Talking to Edie is a lot like talking to Legion in some ways because she is now a fully unshackled AI. She has a lot more freedom than she did before. And she can do things like modify her programming to reflect morals, and she has free will.
Wait, didn't she become an unshackled AI in Mass Effect 2?
Yes, at the end of 2, but you didn't really talk to her about it that much.
I see. Okay.
So, like, now that she is unshackled and has a body, like, she's on her way to being a person.
Right.
So when you try talking to her and Joker interjects, Edie is just like, can we speak in private, please? Because I can't with this clown over here.
It's almost like she forgot who he was. It's like, did you not meet Joker? Did you not get an idea of who he was before you had a body?
She didn't really have a lot of opportunities to see him like this because she didn't have a body before. And he was always so focused on the Normandy that she never really witnessed interactions like this. At least not from him.
No, and not to her.
Exactly. And I think it's so cool that Edie is constantly evolving and learning. And she's like, I want everybody to think of me as part of the crew. Sweetie, you are part of the crew. You've been part of the crew. I love her.
Aww.
I will protect her.
Oh, come on. She's a badass with pistols and electronic hacking ability. She's gonna be fine.
I will fight for her. And she makes a joke about, like, I only forget to recycle the air when I find something truly interesting. And Shepard's look of horror. It's like, oh god. I love her sense of humor.
I love that all of her jokes are the I'm a robot, kill all human sort of path. And she's constantly reminding everyone that was a joke.
Yes, because it's like they've dealt with enough VI and AI trying to kill them. And she's like,
Yes.
"Oh no, I have to let them know that I don't mean it. I have to let them know that I'm not actually trying to kill them."
It's one of those rare instances where the delivery of the line that was a joke is the actual punchline.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then there were some emails. There were 2 from Aria, one letting you know that Ashley/Kaden is awake, one from a Jondum Bao, which I believe was the Kasumi mission, which we did not do yet, an email from Thane, and an email about Dr. Bryson. So when we get to the Citadel, there's so much. We're going to skip all of it, and we're going to go straight to Aria. We will talk about it on a different episode. I'm sorry if you really wanted to know how we feel about Steve watching the ships fly by. We will talk about it next time, I promise. You want me to talk about how Garrus takes care of refugees for 20 minutes? No, we'll deal with it later.
God damn it. That's the only reason why I agreed to be on this damn podcast. Fuck.
My boyfriend's so good. Anyway, let's talk about Aria. So before we can get to the Omega DLC, we actually have to do some fetch quests for Aria. I have to find where it is in my notes because we're skipping so much stuff. So we find out that Aria got ousted from Omega, right? And the elusive man is officially at the top of her shit list. Mine too.
Join the club.
Yeah, the elusive man blows. This is not a secret. Everyone knows.
Right.
I just love this image though, because the Aria we got to know was Queen of Omega. She had like a balcony in Afterlife where she looked upon her kingdom and saw that it was good. Now she's like on the lower level of purgatory, the bar purgatory. Just like sitting there being grouchy while a C-Sec officer is sassing her, and she's just like, "You're gonna call the Asari counselor and fuck right out of my face." Because she doesn't care, she doesn't have time for it. She really hates this place. She talks about how much she hates purgatory. It's so like not clean, but it's so I think the reason why she hates the Citadel is because it is deceitful in its corruption, whereas Omega is honest about all the things that's wrong with it.
Right. Yeah. The illusion of safety versus every man for himself on Omega.
And she gives us 3 fetch quests.
Before we move on with the Aria fetch quest, I just want to take a moment to celebrate Carrie-Anne Moss and her amazing voice acting in this game and the last game as Aria. Aria is one of my favorite non-squad mate characters, and the fact that you get to go on a mission in this game with her and her be your squad mate is really amazing and something I think everybody wanted. But her performance from the highs to the lows, her range, it's just incredible. I love that she voices this character, and to me it's as iconic as like Kevin Conroy's Batman and all of these other great voice actors. Like I think she does such a great job here. Like you don't even know it's her, like unless you're super familiar with her voice. She's this character, and it's done so well.
What really got me about this character is that she's so measured, and she never really raises her voice unless to say, I am Omega, right?
Yeah.
And it's so like she doesn't need to be threatening. She doesn't need to be kind. She gets what she wants no matter what. So like, and she's very used to this. And so like, she doesn't need or want anything from anyone. And so like her way of dealing with people is the most matter-of-fact way of speaking to people. And I just think when you walk into, at least in Mass Effect 2, when you first walk into Afterlife, that place is just crazy and bustling. And here she is, this calm eye in the middle of this storm. And in many ways just makes her more terrifying, I guess. And it's just the same here. You meet up with her again, and it's like, oh shit, I'm going to be talking to Aria now. Like, I don't know what the fuck's going to happen. It was good to see her in Purgatory, and that sort of like bubbling, seething rage underneath that calm exterior.
Something about Aria in Purgatory. I've talked about how Mass Effect treats alcohol in Mass Effect 2, and I decided to test my limits here in Purgatory with alcohol. My shepherd had 3 drinks and apparently blacked out and woke up on Aria's couch. And Aria's just sitting there looking at you like, are you okay? Do you need some water? And I think it's really sweet that Aria's like, no, I got this.
Aww.
This one's mine. She's really sweet. Okay, so we have to do some fetch quests so that way we can buy the loyalty, so to speak, of the Blue Suns, the Eclipse, and the Blood Pack.
Yeah, and let me tell you, was probably the most annoying thing about all of this.
Yeah.
These fetch quests are just bullshit. They're just time wasters.
It was very annoying because you have to go talk to this guy, and then you have to go talk to someone else, and then you have to talk to someone else, and then maybe you have to leave the station to go scan a planet and then find something there, and then come back and then talk to that first guy. And then it was just
It was just so. I mean, talk about busy work. That was like, I did not enjoy those fetch quests at all.
Me neither. And I think that for me, like I had a really meta game breaking moment because we try and play, the whole purpose of the show is we're playing as our characters. But there's a moment where I knew that if I wanted to cooperate with Iraq, I had to like do something different. And I almost took the renegade action just to not have to go leave the Citadel and come back. And like that's bad. That's bad. If the game is making me want to do a bad thing instead of doing the thing I want to do because it'll just take less time, that's makes it rough.
So the Blue Sun mission was they're trying to do some black market arms dealing, but General Araka is disrupting the deal or whatever. I don't fully remember. And the leader wants you to kill Araka.
Yeah.
But we remember General Araka. We helped him through a very difficult time in his life. This Blue Sun's leader is an asshole, though. And I had many moments where I thought, Aria, would you like me to kill this guy for you? Because he sucks, and I will kill this guy for you. Why don't you just make a deal with the next in line for this guy? Just make it a next in line option all across the board.
I think that the helping out General Raka was the only fetch quest I did out of the 3 in the Paragon choice. And I think for the rest of them, I just did. I did Renegade because I just couldn't be bothered anymore.
See, this one I did Paragon because I'm not gonna kill General Raka. He's doing his best, all right?
He's good people. He's trying to do the right thing here.
Doing his best. But the Blood Pack one was fine, I think. Like, you barely had to do anything. You just had to show up, pretend to be tied up, and shoot a guy.
Easy.
That was it.
More like that, please.
It was a coup. It was fine. That one turned out that you were pretending to be bartered to the current leader of the Blood Pack, but it turned out that they made a deal with his second in command to kill the leader.
If HD Graphics has taught me anything about the Vorcha, it's that they are even more hideous than I thought they were.
Oh yeah, they bad. They ugly. Poor Vorcha.
Weird, creepy creatures, but I like how submissive the one that takes lead is like, don't hurt me. I'm with him.
They're barely sentient, right?
I mean, they're meant to be a savage people, but a violent people. But I mean, I think you can read things about them, but they don't really go deep into the Vorcha's history unless you go digging for it.
I feel like I know something about the Vorcha.
Were they uplifted like the Krogan were? Or were they already technologically advanced? I
feel, and this could be wrong, and I'm going to go get the evidence, but I feel like the Vorcha were created, but I could be wrong. I think I'm wrong.
I have to go to the Reignite newsroom later.
Yeah. Known for their unique biology and aggressive behavior, the Vorcha of Heshtok are a primitive race that live among the galaxy's darker and more dangerous locations, such as Omega. Many Vorcha are trained by Krogan Blood Pack as mercenaries due to their savage nature and adaptability to different environments. The rest of galactic civilization regards them as pests and scavengers, and their presence is generally seen as a blight. They're very short-lived. They only live about 20 years.
I did not know that.
Yeah, they come from a very overcrowded planet, and their culture is built mainly around combat.
Huh.
So they weren't uplifted, and they weren't created, as I thought.
Every day's a school day here on Reignite.
Yeah, exactly.
We learned so much together. And for the Eclipse, the mission is to get Jonas Sedaris out of jail.
Yeah.
Which Bailey says to us, no, she's crazy.
Yeah. I went full renegade on this one because I just couldn't be bothered anymore.
That's fair, but also I could not let this woman out to murder people.
At this point, like, we're at war. Everybody's making sacrifices. You know what I mean?
So I actually arranged for her to like stay in jail and her second in command to take over. Like, dude, come on. You're smart enough to arrange for like this kind of deal with Aria. Just cut her out entirely, my man. You could be the leader.
Yeah, no, I just like, if I have to go across this citadel one more fucking time to talk to some other person, it's like, nope, done.
Well, we are done. It was fine. So we got this small army of mercenary groups ready to throw at whatever the fuck we want. Yay!
And as I recall, these missions were always in the base level Mass Effect 3, and then Omega is the DLC, which we're going to talk about after this.
This was on the disc, yeah.
But then they do require you to do this before you can do the DLC because it's all part of the same narrative structure.
Yes. So now that we've completed that, we can head over to Dock 42.
Yes. And what's interesting about this DLC, and it's easy to forget it's DLC, is like Mass Effect 3 did so much with its DLC, added so much content. They did this in 2 as well, but this is a lot of stuff that you get to do here for just one DLC mission. And, you know, it's also separate from everything else, which they've done with other DLC.
So first we have to go to Dock 42 where we meet a Batarian named Bray. And then Aria rolls up in her sky car like, get in, losers. We're going to usurp an entire government.
Get in, losers. We're going to do a coup.
On Wednesdays, we wear blue because we're sorry. And she tells you about her plan. And before she lets you go, she says, be discreet. We don't talk about this anywhere but in this car.
Citadel has ears.
Which is their way of being like, okay, so when you're not like in this,
Yeah.
she's not going to acknowledge any of this.
Right, exactly. No, I never thought of it as like a backdoor way to avoid why her dialogue would repeat it in Purgatory, but that's exactly what that is.
You know.
Yeah,
it's a clever way to get around doing more voice work.
Yeah, and like her whole thing is that she has objections to the company you keep. I'm like, the only two people I have with me right now are Garrus and Liara, and they would be immensely useful to you. I don't understand why you're making me leave them behind.
Right, and it's not like she hasn't met them before. Like, you know, Mass Effect 2, like depending on who your party was, she's basically met half the party already.
Like, I can understand having an objection to James.
Sure. Meathead James.
I can understand, like, if you had the Vermeer survivor with you, objecting to them. I get it. It's cool. But, like, Garrus lived on Omega for 2 years, so he knows it super well. And Liara is the shadow broker.
Yeah, actually, you raise a really good point. Garrus knows Omega like the back of his hand.
Exactly.
That would have been a fantastic interaction between Aria and, oh god, what was his name on the Citadel? He was Angel something.
Archangel,
thank you. That would have been a fantastic where Aria finally meets Archangel.
Yes, and like I understand that the whole reason that you can't bring anyone is so you can have Aria and Nyreen in your party at the same time. But like, there were missions where you only had Aria.
Yeah.
It would have been nice where I could have been like, okay, Garrus, come with me for this, and then you stay here in the bunker as the three of us go. You've done that before in previous missions, Mass Effect. Why? Why are you like this? To annoy me specifically.
I don't know. And that's again, like, I have a lot of thoughts on this DLC. And that's one of the things that annoys me about this DLC.
So we have to get rid of Oleg Petrovsky, who is described as the ultimate strategist. He likes chess and everything. Pretentious.
Yeah, and remember when I said that like Mass Effect like had done away with like its more cartoony elements? if Oleg Petrovsky is not the quintessential cartoon villain, I don't know what
He
is.
super
He's
is.
so fucking over the top. He's so cliche. He's playing chess while fucking battles are raging. You know what I mean? Like it's. I mean, I appreciate that they're leaning in real hard into some of these like archetypal tropes, but like, geez Louise, it's like, can he?
He wears white because he thinks he's the good guy.
Yeah, it's like, oh, come on, come on.
After Aria gives you the rundown, you then get the coordinates to meet her, and they have commandeered a Cerberus ship so that way they can infiltrate and then crash land on Omega.
Yeah.
And everything goes perfectly according to plan with no problems.
Of course.
The end. No, I think there was a moment on the ship where Shepard goes in. Shepard says something along the lines of like, keep it steady, wait for your shot, and then Arya just chimes in, ramming speed. uh, which the second she yelled that, I'm like, oh, okay, this is what I'm in for. All right, that sets the tone for basically the entire 4 or 5 hour experience that is this DLC.
Yep. You ever notice how all Cerberus soldiers sound exactly the same?
Yeah, they got that helmet sort of like loudspeaker voice.
It's like, what happens to you that you all have that? Do you have like a voice modifier in your helmet?
Well, that, and I guess the rationale is that they've all been sort of like partially reaperized. They're all
Yeah.
partial husks at this point, so maybe they just all sound the same as a result.
My next note is about talking to Petrovsky.
Yeah, basically, he just needed to like twirl his mustache, and the whole look would have been complete.
So, my favorite thing, I kind of split the uprights between being Paragon and Renegade in this.
Same.
Where Nyreen was concerned, I was more Paragon because I agreed with Nyreen. But there were moments where I was like, nah, Aria, go off. Because she was right too.
Right. Fuck this guy.
But like while talking to Oleg, he's like, I've heard great things about you. And I'm like, not from your boss, you haven't. And he has the audacity to say, like, maybe deep down you fear success. Oh, shut the fuck up.
I know. Keep your couch psychology to yourself there, Freud.
All I fear is my crushing student debt.
it's I think here's I know I guess we'll talk about when we get sort of like to the end of the segments, but man, I have so many wonderful and unkind things to say about this DLC.
So once we crash land on Omega, Aria does tell us that in combat she'll follow Shepard's orders, which that's really big of you.
Yeah, I think I buy the rationale too. Like, she brought him out specifically for the ground war, right? Like he's an expert in
Yeah.
ground war tactics. And so
Ground assault.
so like she's willing to like, no. When we're fighting down here, I'm taking orders from you, but like, we're taking back this station one way or another.
There was a renegade option to shoot the camera, and when I tell you I have flashbacks to Overlord, oh boy. Always shoot the cameras.
Always.
Oh yeah.
Always shoot the cameras.
I took that renegade trigger so fast. Shoot those cameras.
Oh yeah, I couldn't have triggered that moment faster.
The Omega skyline was really interesting to see because it reminded me very much of New York City.
Smog-filled and orange?
Industrial, varied.
Oh, sure. Yeah, it's a stark contrast from the Citadel.
Yeah.
Where you have like those faux pristine skies and clean walkways and everything that's placed, and then you have Omega where it looks like it's been like basically broken and run down for the past 100 years.
Yeah, which I guess it has been. How creepy was it to hear these announcements that like non-humans carrying weapons will be shot? Way to show your white supremacy.
Well, they have always been a human-centered organization, so.
I know, but they got worse, is what I'm saying.
Oh, I mean,
they got so much worse.
Oh, I'm sorry. Were you expecting the human-centered organization to be good?
No, I wasn't.
They definitely haven't mellowed
They
in
just
their
upped
years.
their game, is what I'm saying.
Look, space racists be racist, yeah. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. And they are not trying to hide it anymore. And it's not bad. We're just trying to do what's best for us and everyone. And now they're just like, fuck it, humans only. Everyone else die.
I totally forgot that shield pylons were a thing.
Oh yeah, shield pylons. Those things are fucking everywhere.
I was like, why is everybody glowing? What's happening here?
Those things are so annoying. God damn it.
I had to take them out first because no shields for you.
Yeah, well, I mean, I was lucky. I always play engineer, so I had lots of like drones and turrets to help me out in that regard.
Smart. I feel like engineer would have been really good for this. Sentinel was okay.
Engineer is, I think, the perfect class to play, particularly for Omega. And I'll tell you why when we get there.
For me, as a Vanguard, most of the combat was very much charge to a place, shockwave, charge to another place, shockwave. My regen is for my biotics is so fast that I barely just ground pounding and then charging to the next target and body's still flying.
I send out my little death pets, and I basically go from cover to cover, picking my targets.
It was just easier to walk up on a mech and stab him to death. Especially as a Sentinel, I have 2 Omni blades, so I just go, ha!
Nice.
You die. It's very satisfying.
I believe you.
And then we meet Nyreen, the first female Turian we have ever seen.
Which I greatly appreciate.
I appreciate it, but why is her neck so long?
Bird people?
I feel like it's disproportionate. Like, I was looking at her, I was like, oh, this doesn't look quite right.
Bird people.
I feel like they hadn't quite figured out how to design a female Turian yet.
Hashtag bird people. That's all. That's just what it. Look, when you are a bird person, that's just how it goes.
Boots interrupted our podcast to tell me that she has never been pet once in her entire life.
Yeah, of course. Sounds like a cat.
Excuse me, miss. I have never been loved. Yeah, so we meet Nyreen, who is a badass, and I love her immediately.
Oh yeah, she's an amazing badass.
Like, she walks in and she's all shrouded and hooded, and then she and Aria do this like circle walk around each other to reveal all of their history and their sexual tension.
So much.
It's so much.
And this is, oh man, this DLC is going to be the fucking death of me. I guess ultimately, here's my problem with the Omega DLC. It is simultaneously 2 things at the same time. It gives you way too much information, and yet it doesn't give you enough information, right? It is way too long, but also feels too short, right? And this thing with, like, particularly this scene where we finally meet Nyreen, and Aria and Nyreen are sort of like info dumping, basically. We're supposed to just kind of like, it's the problem I have with a lot of the sort of truncated storytelling, where it's a lot of, they're telling us that they had a history. And it's like, it's a video game. I don't want you to tell me anything. I want to be able to like play it out, right? But in this particular instance, you can't. So, and because we're meeting Nyreen for the first time, and this is a DLC, you got to just get it in and get it over with. And I don't know. It just seems like it's both too much and not enough. That's if I was going to do a critique of Omega, that would be my review. It's simultaneously too much and not enough.
Definitely see that. I feel like if they were to have fleshed this out more, it could have been its own game.
Yeah.
Like a companion game to the Mass Effect
Are you kidding me? Taking back, like, both the fall and taking back of Omega could have been its own game.
Yeah, and like Aria should have been the main character that you're playing as, or maybe even Nyreen as someone who is watching what happens as an outsider.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Totally. When we get to the bunker area, it's like, this looks like it could have been its own hub for an entirely separate game. And it's meant to give you that feeling, like, because you take on side missions and you talk to people, but like, it definitely feels like there could have been more there. And with Nelson, it's both awesome and so cool, but also not quite what it could have been.
It just wasn't fully realized.
Maybe. I don't know. I think it has its flaws, and I think it was just a piece of flawed DLC, because it also, like, it feels padded, and that's why it's too long. It just feels padded, and you only get to have one meaningful conversation with Nyreen, whereas you're having like at least a dozen conversations with Aria. And I know more about Bray than I do Aria, for Christ's sake. It's sort of like, I understand why there were moments of just Aria and Shepard, and then Shepard by themselves. And there was even like just a brief moment where it was just Nyreen and Shepard. But again, it's like, I don't know. There was a lot of like fetch, even in this, it was like, you have to go here and do this, then you have to go over here and do this, and then you have to go here and do this, rather than just this constant push forward to get to Petrovsky, right? And I don't want to dog on it too much, because I think the set pieces are fucking amazing. I think like there's that push across the bridge to get to the other landing party by the command center. I think that set piece is amazing. The run through the mine area is, I think, fantastic. And I mean, I think, maybe stop me if I'm getting too ahead, because it's sort of like I have so many thoughts on this damn thing. I think the adjuncts are a great villain. I think those souped up mechs are a boring villain. Because it's just they're kind of like, the adjuncts are first of all, the introduction of the adjuncts I think is brilliant. I'll get that in a second, but like,
I'm just gonna interrupt you because you keep saying adjuncts.
Yeah. What are they?
Adjutants.
Adjutants. Thank you. Yeah. Adjutants.
Adjuncts are something else completely different. My husband is one of those.
Wait, your husband is a Reaper?
No, he's an adjunct.
Oh, he was hot the other way. An adjutant. Yes. The mechs are kind of introduced as this sort of like super badass villain, but then they end up just being
fancy mechs.
Not just that, but like endlessly spawning fancy mech. Then the adjutants, their introduction, where you're walking around the pitch black room and the only light is on the end of your weapon. So cool. That was atmospheric and fantastic. More of that would have been great.
I agree with you. I felt like the adjutants were underutilized. We only really got that one very creepy scene, which was very good. And then they showed up in the final battle, and I was like, okay.
Yeah.
And that was it.
Yeah, and even in the final battle, they're just endlessly spawning villains. It's just, and the thing is, I think they're fantastic. I think after the DLC, they should have showed up in other places. But I don't know. I love the character of Nyreen. Can I talk about her thing, or do we want to talk more about going through it first?
Hang on. I need to figure out what in my notes are relevant.
Well, I mean, basically, we meet her, and then she just fucking disappears.
Yeah.
And then
we find out that she's leader of the Talons.
Right. Which, again, that feels padded. Like, why couldn't we have just learned that when we met her? Aria's like, we need to go find the Talon leader, and then she pulls off her hood and she says, "You found her." Like, why couldn't that have been it?
Well, from a narrative standpoint, there is something to be said of the dramatic reveal.
Yeah. But like, I mean, come on, was there ever any doubt that she wasn't involved in the Talons in some way when you started?
Yeah, I feel like that should have been the first moment that we met her.
Yeah.
We should not have met her already.
Right, we pushed through.
We shouldn't have met her before that. We should have met her.
Like you push to find the Talon base, and then we meet Nyreen.
And then that's when we can have the whole like, I thought you left. No, I've been here the whole time. Oh, that's weird.
How awkward is that? And you've been hiding out.
Breakup we had.
You've been hiding out in my secret tunnels and rooms that I showed you when we were having space sex.
Like, I love Nyreen. I think she's so cool, and like, The reason why she's here is because Turians are weird about biotics.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I forgot that Turians are weird about biotics. That escaped my radar when she revealed that.
I don't even particularly know why, because we know that a Turian was involved in the biotics training program that Caden was in, and I don't know. I think they treat biotics as something that needs to be very carefully trained.
Trained and controlled and monitored, and I get it.
I did all of this research when I was making my Turian Huntress, and I like completely forgot all of it. But yeah, they try to lock her away, basically. Nyrene's whole thing is that she's concerned with the citizens of Omega, which Aria says that she cares about because she wants the people to be free, but really she just wants to be back in control.
Yeah. Well, I think it's all a means to an end, right? Like at the end of the day, she needs to be the leader of a people, whoever survives, right? So she needs the people to rule over, but ultimately it's about getting control back.
Oh, I do want to talk about this one interaction. Aria talks about how Nyrene's easy to manipulate, and then later you meet up with Nyrene, and she's like, Aria said you could manipulate me, didn't she? And you could lie, which is a renegade action. And I took it not because I wanted to lie, but because she's standing right here, Nyrene. So I was just like, no, she didn't say that.
Oh, I went Paragon. I went full Paragon on that one. It's like, oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely. She said that literally the second you walked away.
I was like, oh no, I throw Aria under the bus. Fuck her.
Yeah, I sold Aria out pretty fast as well. I was like, no, yeah, she totally said she could manipulate you. Yeah, you're totally right.
Meanwhile, me, I'm so awkward. Oh no, I don't want to be part of this conversation. I don't want to do this. There was an interaction where Aria says, it's almost as if you don't trust me. Nyrene, it's exactly as if I don't trust you. Oh my god, just make out already. I know you want to. Just fucking kiss.
Enough.
And the thing is, it's like, there aren't enough scenes between the two of them to make that mean something, right? It's just, they're telling you there's sexual tension, but it's like, I don't really buy that there's sexual tension because everything's happening so fucking fast. I don't know how they would have addressed any of this, to be honest. Like, I think all of my complaints are just coming on deaf ears, but like, it seems like that where I would have loved to have known more about Nyrene, you know?
Yeah, like she's such an interesting character. You know, she inspired the Talons to become more than thieves and bandits. They're protecting people instead of stealing from people. She
took over when Archangel.
Yeah, she took over for
Was,
Archangel basically.
you know,
so she's
ousted.
basically Batwoman.
Yes.
Like she's so cool.
And now now I want a crossover T-shirt of a Turian Batwoman.
Yes.
And like talking to her reveals just how toxic her relationship with Aria was. There's that queer conundrum: do I want to date you or do I want to be you?
Right.
But unfortunately for them, the relationship devolved into that in a very unhealthy way.
Yeah.
And you know, I feel for Nyrene. It's really hard and really intense.
She admits to having like self-esteem issues, right? Which is why she found Aria attractive in the first place, right? Like this super confidence that she just wanted to be near that.
Yeah, she was totally adrift. I mean, she built up her career in the military, developed biotic powers, and then they were like, haha, that career that you had, fuck it. It's gone now.
See, yeah. Yeah. I'm sorry, I was just thinking about the combat again. It's too much.
There's just so much of it. There's so much combat.
Because
now we have to go and fucking deactivate a reactor.
Right, the fucking bombs. Jesus fuck. Because
we're actually not at the bombs yet.
Oh dear God, seriously?
Somehow.
And this is again like a big problem that I have. It's like, because not only are you fighting Cerebus agents, right? You're fighting those fucking Uber mechs, right? And then you're fighting the adjutants. So like, it's just so fucking much. It's like the DLC doesn't really know what it wants to be. right? Does it want to be this sort of like, will they, won't they rekindled wartime romance story? Or like this piss your pants horror movie? Or, or like overcoming like this super smart general and figuring out a way how to outsmart him, even though he's
Yeah.
like got you. Like it's too much.
There's too many elements fighting for your attention.
Yeah, and it's like I just played this like just the other day, and I completely forgot that there's shit I gotta do before I disarm the goddamn bombs.
Yep, you gotta reach the reactor.
Yeah.
One thing that happens before you even go to the reactor is Aria says, "We'll have to pry open the door," and then she looks pointedly at Shepard.
Like, well, get on it.
And Shepard's like, "Oh, that's me." But skipping all the combat, because we don't need to talk about the same combat again and again.
Right.
When we get to the reactor, Aria's real badass because she looks at this incinerating force field and says, "Fuck your force field."
Yeah.
And she uses her biotics to rip it open enough for Shepard to go through.
Yeah. And I just want to say one thing about that combat before we move forward. Like basically throwing out enemies at you while you're in a locked room is really cool. That was a really cool set piece. Because having to like bounce around and you're limited by the space, that was amazing. And her ripping open that force with her bare fucking hands is so cool.
It was really awesome. And then when you get to the reactor, Petrovsky is like standing behind you, mocking you, and there's all these like renegade triggers where you can either shut down the reactor and like kill a bunch of people, or you can reroute the reactor so you can still destroy the force fields, but like keep people alive.
Yeah.
So I chose to ignore the renegade triggers because like they're innocent people. They haven't pissed me off. They didn't do anything wrong.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember. I think that's the moment where being an engineer plays off, because skipping the renegade, once Petrovsky says something along the lines of like, "Oh, you'll never figure out the code," and because I'm an engineer, I just do it. And
Oh, interesting.
Shepard's like,
No, interesting.
yeah, Shepard's like, I could probably not figure this out if I was just a stupid grunt, but I'm an engineer, and he pushes a button and the whole thing is just done.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Fascinating. I didn't know
What
that.
what happens with you?
So you get he monologues at you, and you get 3 opportunities to hit the button. Like you keep looking at the button. I did the same thing, shocking nobody. I did the Paragon action, and I ignored the renegade triggers and just shut down the force fields or whatever it was. But yeah, he just kind of like tells you how it's inevitable. I'm the big bad guy. You'll never stop me. I'll be here forever, and you still do it anyway because of course you show him up. But it's just,
That's interesting.
yeah.
I've never seen that.
Especially if you're playing it for the first time, I bet you wonder like, is this going to be the action that like actually fucks me over because I'm trying to be a good person?
Right. Yeah. No, those moments are super tempting.
And then we get to disarming the bombs after Aria mocks Nyreen for being afraid of adjutants. Seriously, let her be afraid of adjutants. It's not like she did not fight them. She was a little scared. It happens to the best of us. Calm the fuck down.
I know. It's like a PTSD much? Come on. Let her go.
You are not here, Aria. You don't get to talk shit.
Yeah. You're sipping Mai Tais in fucking purgatory while I was here fighting these assholes.
The bomb disarming was really easy because while you're disarming them, if you get shot, it does not disrupt. So I just disarmed each bomb without bothering to fight anyone.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm just gonna do this.
Yeah, I did the same thing. I would just charge to each location, like do my shockwave. And
Yeah.
yeah.
Being an engineer is really fun. That's all I'm saying.
I like the moments where we were like, oh, hey, I've been here before. Because that makes it feel like a real place.
Oh, right. We go through Morden's hospital at some point.
Yeah. And like, this is another instance where it would have been nice to have Garrus there because he loves fighting through places like this.
It's true.
Garrus.
Okay.
And then we get to Nyreen's sacrifice. And I blame Aria a little bit for this. Because Aria like shoved it into her face that her fear of adjutants made her like not as strong. And Nyreen took that too much to heart and decided to set off a belt of grenades and put up her barrier to keep the adjutants inside with her and to kill them all and herself. And this upsets me for so many reasons, primarily being, why would you kill the one gay character in this DLC?
Oh, Jesus, I know.
Not counting Shepard.
Well, it's also, that's a pretty common trope, right? Like you.
It is. It's burying your gays, but I'm angry about it regardless.
No. I mean, I think it's, yeah, I guess I'm going to say it. I think it's lazy writing.
It is lazy writing.
I think it's very lazy writing. I think
it absolutely is lazy writing.
Here's the problem with her death. I didn't know her enough to care.
Yeah, you don't feel anything because
I don't feel anything. I felt nothing for Nyreen because I didn't know her. I only had one conversation with her, and that conversation was entirely about Aria. And it's such a brilliantly, Nyreen is a brilliant idea of a character that was never allowed to breathe.
Yeah, and that's why I felt like much more sad about it, because like here's this beautiful, amazing female character. She's an absolute badass. She's really cool. She's a queer woman, and like I love everything about her, and I want to know so much about her. I do not get enough about her. I do not know like anything about her beyond her relationship with Aria, really. And you kill her.
Yeah.
You kill her.
Yeah.
So it's just sad and hurtful.
I mean, I understand why, but like that story doesn't need to be told here.
I agree.
Her death doesn't solve anything.
No, it doesn't. All it does is fuel Aria's rage.
Which, I mean, okay, but she could have gotten like wounded. She could have gotten like mortally wounded. And here's the thing, like Mass Effect is all about, well, at least it purports to be all about choice, right? You know, nothing you do can change this outcome. And
Yeah.
I felt like the choice was taken out of my hands.
I agree.
And it kind of goes back to this thing where it's like, at some points she's not there. At some points she is there. It's like, well, why bother having her as a party member if you can't use her the whole goddamn time? You know, except to like, you know, foist upon you this sort of like fake challenge of having to do all of this stuff by yourself. And the thing is, like, I know I'm going hard on this. I genuinely like this DLC, but it just makes so many stupid choices that it's like I could have enjoyed it so much more if they had just done some tiny minor tweaks.
Yeah, I think that this DLC suffers the most from the fact that it's some of the writing comes off short-sighted that way, and like these moments could have had so much more impact if this DLC was threaded either through more of the game, or if it was longer, or if they went deeper on some of these characters. But everything you're both saying is right. Like, to dive into so many tropes in the final moments make the whole final act of this DLC one giant cliche, and that's the biggest bummer I think about the whole thing.
I mean, if they killed some of their darlings, like I love Nyreen, but I almost rather you did not introduce her than do this.
Give me Aria and like Bray. You know, give me a Batarian squad mate.
A Batarian squad mate would be cool.
I don't know. I just think it was a wasted piece of opportunity here. But like, I don't know. I think I'm so back and forth on this stupid DLC because I think
it's fun to play, but there are aspects that are frustrating, and it's okay to recognize that.
Yeah, I think some of the set pieces are fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think the general is so cartoonishly bad. He like the needle crosses over into good again. You know what I mean? Like it's and like finally getting to like learn more about Aria and see her be a badass. That was fantastic too. But like, I don't know. Her death was so stupid.
I agree. Speaking of the general, Aria is now enraged by Nyreen's death and lets loose a lot of biotic charges and kills people in her path. And I'm just like, I'm coming. You go first.
After you.
I'm right behind you.
My first reaction to that was, where the fuck was all of that for the past 4 hours? I could have used that shit in every goddamn encounter I came across.
Oh, God. And then when she gets in there, she just doesn't even think. She's just so angry that she literally tries to launch herself at him. I'm like, sweetie, you've been telling me that he's the perfect strategist the entire fucking time. Why do you think he's not ready for you? Oh my
Yeah.
god, Aria.
Yeah.
It's just such a cliche, like, bad guy trap, too. Like, jump through the thing, get caught.
Yeah. Yeah. And then, oh dear God, what comes up next is the most tedious, frustrating combat in the history of the Mass Effect trilogy.
Oh my god. Like, decode this so this gets revealed. Shoot that so her arm is free. Then move on to the next one. And you gotta do it 3 more times. And you also have to be dealing with mechs on this side and adjutants on this side. And also some Cerberus coming in to kill you. And I'm just like, enough.
You know what? It's got that. It feels like this DLC feels like it was both last minute and rushed, because like the lazy way of upping the challenge is just throwing more bad guys at you who are harder to kill, right? And it's so stupid.
It was quantity, not quality.
Yeah, yeah. And the thing is, like, it's basically the set piece that I happen to like, where it's that force field and you're in an enclosed room.
Mhm.
It's the same closed room idea, but they just throw every fucking thing at you because they can, and it just stops being fun.
And you don't even get to fight the general specifically, because once he realizes that he's lost, he's like, I surrender. And that's it.
Well, yeah, but that's sort of in keeping with his character, right?
I
Like
guess.
he's the strategist. He places pieces on the board. He's not a fighter himself.
And it was a little dissatisfying.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. Maybe if he had pulled the pistol on me at the last minute.
Oh.
Yeah, I didn't. This is the thing where it falls apart for me. This last fight in that room, just not fun in any way, shape, or form for me.
It wasn't. I was just playing to get through it.
Yeah, I was like, I can't deal with this right now. I just need to find. I'm so close to ending this stupid DLC. I just want it to be over.
And then when you do finally end it and Petrovsky surrenders, I feel like this hasn't happened for me in the past, but Aria almost kills him.
Yeah.
She lets him feel death very close, and then she decides, Shepard, you take him, do what you want with him.
Yeah.
And I feel like I've had to argue with her in the past.
Yeah. And that would have been a perfect moment for a Paragon or Renegade trigger.
And like, you kind of just let her do it. And I was fine with letting her do it, because I was also sad about Nyreen. I was just like, no, this is good. Yeah, this is fine.
I don't know. Paragon Shepard, pure Paragon Shepard wouldn't let Aria do that for very long.
Oh, I'm not pure Paragon. That's why.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like I tend to play pure Paragon.
I'm not a great person.
And I'm standing there and I'm like, there's no option for me to stop her. You know, like
Nope.
in every other incarnation of this same sort of choice in Mass Effect, there was an option for me to stop them from doing it. And,
It's true. There is.
And this again, it's sort of like once again, like I was forced into a choice that that I couldn't make.
I think where they failed here was they made it about Aria's choice and not about Shepard's choice.
Yeah, again, about the death of a character that I knew very little about in the first place.
No, that's not what I mean.
What do you mean?
Going throughout this mission, if you like entirely support Aria and like stand against Nyreen, she'll straight out kill him. Or she'll try to kill him.
I see.
Whereas if you play more Paragon, she will just like taunt him with the idea of death.
Sure, torture him.
To like get her like taste of revenge, and then she'll be like, and he's yours now. I never want to see him again. Thank you. Because you being on Nyreen's side leaves an impression on her, and it kind of sways her towards that. So it really comes down to her choice based on the choices you've made.
I get that. That seems.
I'm not saying that it's effective.
Right. I think that's really my problem with it, is that like I see it, but I don't. It didn't come across that way to me, and I played this thing fucking like 20 times. So that's an interest. Yeah, I guess I hadn't really thought of it that way before.
I don't particularly effective because the game entirely is about Shepard's choice.
Right.
I think that this falls flat because even when it becomes Shepard's choice, like you get the first Renegade trigger, which I took to put the gun in his face, but they didn't take it. And like that felt right to me, to threaten him but not actually pull the trigger and to say that we're going to get all the information out of him. But I'm kind of in between both of you. Like, I think that part of this, like the concept of allowing you to dictate Aria's actions and rub off on her one way or the other, is Nelson, that it's not they don't force that hand as much as they could. Like, it's not super apparent that that's the case. In fact, I've only played this DLC a couple of times, and I didn't even realize that until you brought it up, MJ. And so I think I'm kind of somewhere in the middle, where I just feel like they could have probably done a better way of like that way, just because that kind of result hasn't happened in other places.
Yeah, no, I agree. I like I said, I don't think it's effective. I'm just calling it like I sees it.
Fair enough.
And I don't like it.
Fair enough.
And on that note, we end with Aria giving a speech to Omega, letting them know that she's back in control. She does know how to talk to people.
Yeah, she is.
Really, really does.
She's got that high charisma score.
And like her final words, no one will imprison us again. Such a mood.
Such a mood.
Such a mood. And then you have your final talk with Bray, and Bray's like, you know, why do you get the shit assignments, Bray? And Bray's like, no, not this time. You're cool.
I wish we got more of Bray. He was just trying to do his best the entire game.
Yeah, and I'm massively disappointed that you can't go back to Omega after the DLC.
Yeah.
Because that could have been an opportunity for more shops. That could have been an opportunity for more side quests. It could have been like you could have seen like another staging area for the Alliance military. This DLC is so fucking frustrating.
And did ever manage to find Aria's couch?
I did not. Nor did I care. I did not fucking care.
I found it because I was like,
where is it?
It's in the water treatment plant on your way to the bombs.
Oh, okay. I don't care. I think I did some of those terminals.
Yes, I did the terminals and I managed to help the mechanic.
Yeah, I helped the mechanic, and I think I did a few of the terminals.
Same.
But there wasn't an incentive for me to go find a fucking couch.
I just did it to be nice. She's like, he threw out her couch. That's not nice.
Oh, jeepers.
I'm gonna find her couch. It'll make me feel better as a person.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Just made me feel good. I said I'm not a great person. I'm an okay person.
Fair enough.
And that's it. Does anybody else have anything to say about anything?
I think this DLC has some of the best scenery design, particularly when you see the drill that's being overworked. That scaffolding and the drill in the background, I think, is just fantastic. I think it was just, and I would have loved more of the dark stuff, because I think the dark room stuff was creepy as fuck, and I would have loved more of that.
Yeah, they did that well. The ambiance of that was better in this than it was in the previous games when they tried to do that.
Yeah. And overall, this is a mixed bag for me. I liked half of it, and then the other half, not so much. Will I play it again? Absolutely, I will play it again.
Every time.
Every time. Mostly just because of Aria's badassery. She delivers some fucking great lines. But yeah.
I think one of my favorites was, "I'm back, fuckers." Yes, you are.
Yes, you are, Aria. Yes, you are. I don't know. I think some of the other Mass Effect DLC is better and is executed better, but I don't know. It's 50-50. Like I'm a diehard Mass Effect fan, so this is a no-brainer for me. I'm not going to play it, so it doesn't really matter. But if you're not a diehard Mass Effect fan, would you be playing Mass Effect 3?
That's a fair point.
So that brings us to the end. We're going to skip Fandom Corner because this episode was too long.
Oh no! Is it me? Do I talk too much?
No, it was not you. I already anticipated that this episode would be almost 2 hours. So no Fandom Corner.
God damn it.
I'm sorry. Did you have something? Did
No,
you want to talk about something?
Not at all. Not at all. Except, yeah, actually, I have a quick question. Maybe it's relevant, maybe it's not. And this is for the two of you. What's your end game with this podcast? Because you're coming up on Mass Effect 3. I suppose you're going to do Andromeda next.
We are going to do Andromeda next.
Yes.
Is that it? Are you going to do Dragon Age? Like, how do you see this wrapping up for you?
We are talking about doing Dragon Age. We kick around game titles every so often. The Thing is, we want to find games that do the same thing as Mass Effect, that give you this freedom of choice where you have the ability to affect outcomes. And some games do that, and some games try to do that but don't necessarily succeed. So
Fair enough.
Dragon Age is one of the titles we've talked about. Skyrim, not so much.
All right. Well, if you end up doing a Dragon Age podcast, I am so in.
Okay.
So in.
You're on our list.
Okay.
We'll keep that in mind.
It will be like another 2 years before that happens, but
Fair enough. Fair enough. I just finished playing the trilogy, so I'll be ready in 2 years.
I am in the middle of my All the Wrong Things DA2 playthrough where I support the Templars, and it hurts. I gotta say, it hurts.
Oof.
I have to be mean to my boyfriend, Anders, all the time, and I don't like it.
Oh, that's not going to end well for you.
Well, I didn't romance him for this playthrough. He's just my preferred romance, just in general. This playthrough, I romanced Meryl because I'd never done it before.
Meryl's my ride and die.
Yeah, I'm not super into it, but to each their own.
I'm Team Meryl all the way.
I like her much better with Isabella.
All right.
I feel like they work really well together. Anyway.
Well, Fenric. Fenric is also a ride and die.
I love him. I love Fenris. Okay.
Yeah, that's it. That's all I got.
So nothing for Fandom Corner. No new emails or reviews. Sad.
That's really sad.
It's really sad.
Get on it, internet. The fuck is wrong with you?
Our next episode is going to be the Leviathan DLC with guest Jacob McCourt, who recently followed me on Twitter. Thanks, Jacob.
That's a great DLC.
We're excited to have Jacob on. Jacob is the host of Cutscenes, which is a video game movie podcast, which I helped do some VO for their intro theme. And he is also one of the hosts on the Left Behind Games Club podcast, which I've been a guest on. And he was also not that long ago guest on our very own podcast, Green Snark, here on the network. So we're really excited to have Jacob on. I am looking forward to having him on the show. He's a diehard Mass Effect fan and excited to come on. I also would like to thank our incredible guest, Nelson Lugo, for joining us again and give Nelson an opportunity to tell folks what he's got going on the internet and where they can find him.
Yay, Nelson.
Oh, yay, me. Not much, but you can find me the first Thursday of every month doing a magic act for a variety show called The Green Fairy. And if you want to know more about that, you can follow me on my social networks. And the next one is coming up I believe in October, and it's spooky Halloween themed. So, ooh.
If you like what you heard here, follow us on social media. We're at ReignitePod on Twitter, Tumblr, and Instagram, facebook.com/reignitepod, or you can send us an email at reignitepod@gmail.com. Don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe on your favorite podcatcher. It helps us get seen so other people can find us.
We're also members of the Certain Point of View podcast network. You can visit us at certainpov.com to find more nerdy podcasts, each with a unique point of view. And you can also find a permanent invite link to our Discord server where we're actually recording this call right now. We hang out, we share memes. Each show has their own Discord section. And we post a lot there. We talk about the episodes. So come hang out with us on Discord.
We work on some other projects. I am the co-host of Circle of Friendship, a podcast about the Circle of Magic books by Tamara Pierce, where we discuss friendship, magic, and Briar Moss. I am also a co-host of the Rob Thomas No Not That One Robcast, which is currently on hiatus, so it's a really good time to get caught up.
I do a ton of different shit as well. I'm not going to plug them all individually here, just because in the sake of brevity, since the show has run so long tonight. But I have a ton of shows on the network. I do streaming and some other stuff as time allows. The best place to go is to follow me on Twitter at DJ_Stormageddon.
Thank you to Red Spinks for our It's Okay to Be a Marshmallow t-shirt on Redbubble featuring our favorite marshmallow, Kaden Alenko. You can find more of their work at Chaos Does Art on Instagram. We'd also like to thank Case Aiken for developing more amazing shirt designs that you can find through certainpov.com or on Teespring. We'd like to thank David Boyle for designing our logo, which you can also get on a shirt through Redbubble. Finally, thank you to Dan Bull for letting us use the Mass Effect rap for our theme music. I'm MJ.
I'm Matt, a.k.a. Stormageddon.
And I'm Nelson Lugo. We should go.
You're listening to Reignite. I'm Commander Shepard, and this is my favorite podcast on the Citadel.
Hey, you splendid living construct of human delightfulness. Thanks for listening and supporting the Certain POV network. It's your bestest buddy in the whole wide world, Pat Edwards from the Let's Rewatch podcast. You might have heard an ad earlier in the year of me talking about an upcoming 5th edition D&D campaign book I co-wrote called The Red Opera. Super quick refresher. The Red Opera is based on the album and stage show of the same name by the band Dia Morte. It takes place within a mystical and chaotic city run by warlocks in a far-off northern tundra. Not only is the book entirely filled with original settings, monsters, encounters, and characters, but we also have 2 original new playable species and 2 new warlock subclasses. We've also forged a partnership with the Heavy Metal Hall of Fame and the Budapest Symphonic Scoring Orchestra to create an entire suite of new music to accompany each chapter via QR code. Well, guess what? If you're hearing this, the Kickstarter is live. That's right. So please consider clicking the special link in the show notes and peruse the many amazing reward tiers we have to offer. We have custom dice, mini figurines of the 4 main characters, a leather-bound version of the book, and even an option to get a special extra adventure written featuring you as a character. Come on! Thanks for taking a moment away from this phenomenal Certain POV show to listen to me, you wonderful amalgamation of organic excellence. I hope you'll check out the Red Opera and consider joining me on this new adventure.
CPOV. CertainPOV.com.